what do you call this? It is simply the nature elements that exist in this three-dimensional realm that plays a part in the spiritual nature of a wholesome essence, connecting fully into the divine to transmit this cosmic universal essence of great power into a supernatural flow that just innately derives from our universe. The nature element gives us the full sustenance of life to coexist in this universal 3D dimension. So as we delve fully into understanding the topic that the elements of nature play in spirituality and the co-creation process itself, we shall go forward and try to simplify what exactly these nature elements or elements of nature are. You see, the elements of nature refer to the classical or philosophical components that it, the components that derive and co-create this earth and work hand in hand with us living organisms to coexist in this three-dimensional realm. These are, in fact, air, water, fire, and earth. And there also exists the fifth nature element, which is universally charged outside of our three-dimensional realm. You could call it the ether or the sky, the Akash realm. So we in fact see that, wow, the nature elements are what allows us to have the divine sustenance of life in this realm, and it's a continuous flow of co-creation with us. You see, these elements play a vital role in spirituality. Now, we ask, what exactly is spirituality? Spirituality is simply having this connection to a greater source higher than yourself, understanding the coexistence of life all around you, giving you the purpose and meaning of life itself. So we see that as we go forward into transitioning to connecting with source divinely into higher dimensional beings with greater states of consciousness, we see that we are in fact becoming more spiritual. We have always had a spiritual nature, but we are being fully awakened now into transitioning into this state of presence to fully embark in this co-creation process. And now we must not forget our very significant nature element that is in continuous flow with us into playing a role in spirituality and blossoming into this beautiful co-creational process of higher dimensional frequencies. So we shall now delve fully into understanding these nature elements, what they comprise of, and the role they play in our spiritual co-creation. So let's now take an in-depth view at these nature elements and the vital role they play in our spiritual co-creative process. First, let's look at the air element. The air element, it's all about the breath of life, a life force energy. It depicts communication and movement, the great flow in life. So let's look at the air element itself. We see that if you breathe in, you breathe out this chi energy. We see that this beautiful gaseous component of air And we could see in this realm, we take in the oxygen, breath of life, that fully sustains us and gives us this divine oneness essence with source itself. We see that all around us comprise of this gaseous component of air that just moves so infinitely that we may not even be able to see it because of its, the components of this gaseous air particles are so tiny that we cannot, but we feel it, in essence. You can see that furthermore, when we tap in food, we don't just have air, we have the wind spirits of the earth that just move so maybe sometimes turbulent and maybe sometimes hard. We see that this divine air element is in continuous flow with us to just be at one with nature. You see, if we go more in depth into understanding it, we see that we ourselves cannot exist in this three-dimensional realm without this air element. The animals, the plants, even to grow a plant, you need the air element to sustain it and give it life. So we see that as we tap fully into your spiritual nature, into tapping into that higher force and deriving a meaning out of life and why we are truly here, we see that wow, this great presence of this life force, air component, nature element is one of the most significant components that just allows us to continuously flow into the breath and to continue our co-creation. You see, even if as I'm speaking to you, you see my voice has to move through this air composition for you to be able to hear this beautiful speech that I'm giving to you right now. So we have to look so in depth at things right now to see that wow, we take these things for granted, but they, even though you may not consider it a living organism, they play a vital role. So each day that you wake up, you're thanking the divine for the breath of life, but you also have to be in great harmony and great gratitude for this great nature element of air. So beautiful, giving us this weather to continue to coexist, to co-create in this way. Next, we have another powerful sustenance of life, water. So when you think about water, you think of this great flow. Water shows us great, maybe it connects us to a intuitive and emotional state. You see, water, I believe, is one of the most second important nature elements. You see, we ourselves are comprised of water. As you know, we say we are comprised of 75% of water. If we look at the earth itself, the earth is comprised of, I would say at least maybe 85 to 95% of water itself too. And even in the greater cosmos, which we won't delve too much into, there's water. Now, we see that this great water flow allows us to purge and to release and to continuously co-create. So let's take a look at ourselves. We see that within us we have the sustenance of water that you see that each day you might have to pee several times a day. That's the releasing of water. You see that even within your internal body system, your blood system comprised of hemoglobin is comprised of water that flows throughout your body system to continue to allow you to be present here and to move and to flow and to be able to do your daily tasks for the day. But another significant water essence of great flow that allows us to purge is this beautiful tears that we produce that comes from the plants. You see, this great water element flows from us to purge and release the unwarranted emotions in our body. Sometimes tears and you may say crying is not necessarily that you're sad or you're in pain. Sometimes tears even means joy too. So you see that this water element connects us to sort of like a feminine essence, this, you know, divine flow that I'm sure connects us to the divine. We see that we have the oceans, we have the rivers, the waterfall, the natural components of water that just flows. We use it for, drinking, making our food, watering our plants, giving it to our animals, you know, just maybe even cleaning and doing different things. We see that this great water channeled here on earth is a very important process that is in continuous flow. And without this water component, yeah, we are short-lived. So we see that the second component of nature, water, plays a vital part into understanding the purpose and meaning of life and spirituality, and continues to fulfill. So whether it is that you drink water and you are such in deep gratitude for what this water essence is going to do to you in your body, give you that divine energy that you need to sustain yourself. When you're thirsty and you're dehydrated, you tap into going to water to, keep you steady and balance you back into your fullest capability. We see that all of these water components that we get on earth are just so beautiful just in their wholesome essence, but they help us to sustain life. And we just ought to be thankful and in great graciousness of seeing this divine beauty of the water element. Next, we have the fire element. The fire element is all about divine transformation, giving us that passionate energy and vitality to go forward in life. So, the fire element, I will personally put it towards the sun, the great, powerful, divine sunlight that gives us divine energy. You see, without sunlight here on earth, we also, as energetic beings on this earth, will not be able to continue to exist. So too the animals, the plants, the trees, whatever else that we even see that sunlight gives us, electricity and all sorts of different things that we need this fire element, sunlight. Now let's not just stick to this cosmic representation of fire. We can also tap into the fire element that, is used when we heat up something. So you strike the matches, you turn on your stove, you put some wood and you light it up, and you see that you produce this element of fire. So we see that, wow, fire is also another beautiful representation of what it means to move forward with divine energy on this planet. If we see that we use fire to cook food, to heat up something, to change it into another state, we use it to burn certain things, burn wood, burn, charcoal, burn different elements. It nature element here. We see that the earth component is all about stability and structure and, seeing everything to form. So as I stand here on this foundational platform, I'm standing on the ground, on the soil. We also have stones and rocks and just, if we did not have this earth present to keep us in divine balance, we would just be like, how you say, like gravity, flowing in the air, and we will not be able to stay grounded and build this stable structure here on earth. We see that the earth land itself provides us with food, allows us to build a foundation of our homes, businesses, whatever you name it. The earth itself, Mother Gaia, I love her so dearly, is so beautiful in allowing us to continuously be present with her in her home. So we see that we have this earth element of the crystalline nature that is way beneath the depths of the earth, that allows us to sustain us and be on this earth structure. You see, without, this full stable structure that, is fully into form, we have to recognize that, wow, we won't be planted fully on earth, on the ground, if we didn't have this foundation of stability as divine source creator wanted us to experience as living organisms on this earth. Next, we have the final component of the nature element, which is the ether, the sky, tapped into the universal state of consciousness. When we should say we leave this earth, we go above and beyond, and we go into space, outer space, if you want to go on a rocket and see what outer space looks like. We see that we have this great presence of ether. Ether, that is composed of all of these nature elements. So the great hermetic principles of God that tell us as above, so below. We see this very principle depicted right now. The ether giving us this gaseous component of air to birth us on this planet, to birth this planet, and to give us the sustenance of the breath of life. We have the water element, which most of the time, when different asteroids and different, compositions, supernovas, burst out into the space area, we see that, a lot of times, planets are being formed, stars, you name it, galaxies, and it's able to birth this water composition. And so we see that we are so divinely blessed to have this great water composition. Where did it come from? The ether. We see that we have the sunlight, that if you go in outer space, we see that the sunlight gives us divine energy, this universal cosmic energy, and is able to be transmuted into the fire energy on earth. And finally, we see that we have this earth formally present, that a lot of times, like I say, we have all of these different stuffs that, come from outer space. When, we see that so many different things are happening in outer space. Like I used the example of the asteroid, and we see that, for the example, even like the Grand Canyon, certain asteroids and other things may be dropping into Earth and forms this, this great space. And we could see that out of all of this is the rock, this Earth presence and these different components that's able to form different rocks, the soil, you name it, the trees, whatever, and gives the breath of life. So we see that the ether is tapped into the higher consciousness field beyond this earth, beyond this planet. And we see that, wow, the spiritual nature of everything is so beautiful that we ought to take a look at what's around us and see it's not just about us. Yes, we are going through this transition and being able to now understand what we are here for and what this co-creation process. But now take a look at the beautiful nature elements that have played such a vital role in spirituality and where we are currently transitioning. To just be at one with them, to thank them on a daily basis, be in deep gratitude and to say, wow, we ought to love these beautiful nature elements and continue to allow us to coexist with Source, with the Divine, and continue to flow in this beautiful